There's lots of super basic ways to make Pilates more size inclusive in reformer classes. I'm just gonna show you a couple of my favorite tips. Now, the first thing to think about is because people in larger bodies are heavier, a lot of times they need heavier spring tension. So for things like footwork and things like feet and straps, you can go a little heavier. Now, here in the studio, our normal spring setting for feet and straps is a red and a blue. For our footwork, it's 2 red and a blue. So for footwork for people like me or people that are in larger bodies, for footwork, I like to do possibly 3 red. For feet and straps, I like to do 2 red or 2 heavy. So I always like to also cue people, how are you feeling when you're doing the exercise? For feet and straps, if they're feeling it more in their core and it's super easy for them to get their feet down and get into those circles, then they probably need a little bit heavier spring setting. A lot of classes, you just walk in and you're like, this is the spring setting, and they don't give you any different options. I like to empower people, try different things, see what works for your body, because what works for me may not work for the next person, and people need to kind of understand what the function is of the springs and how to best help them. For things like supine arm work, sometimes laying down in that tabletop position can be really painful on the lower back, especially if you've got a little junk in the trunk like I do. So I love to use the small core ball to help. Now, if you put this small core ball right on your booty just below the tailbone when it's super inflated like this, it's gonna be focusing more on core, and it may actually hurt more than actually help the person. So what I like to tell people to do is you want to deflate the core ball just a bit. So like about half of the size, don't lose the plug. So now here that this is nice and deflated, it's gonna give a little bit more support when I've got this under my booty. Now, if this is fully inflated, it's gonna make me be rocking around a lot more. Sometimes this can be a little annoying for instructors because then you have to inflate more balls. I just have my clients at the end of class like, hey, if your ball's a little deflated, bring it to the front, and then it's easy for me to just pump it up right there. So that's one way that I make this a little bit easier. But again, I don't wanna make my clients be in pain or make them not feel supported just because maybe it's gonna add a little extra work for me as the instructor. My job is to make sure they feel supported and make sure that they have a good experience. So if it adds a little bit of work for me, it's worth it. Another way to make people feel more comfortable is to make them be pushed out a little bit further. So here on our reformers, these are Marathus, I will push people out if they're a little bit in a larger body out here to this further setting. Then I will change my peg here, further pressed out. So this is gonna give a little bit more space. It gives a little bit room for their belly, and it also helps if they're not quite as flexible. For things like bridging as well, you maybe wanna add a little bit more springs. Now for me, in a larger body, I can put all the springs on and that is completely super supported. So some of my clients that are newer, I may do that. Now here in the studio, normal heavy setting would be 2 red and a blue. And then I go down to 2 red for kind of a medium setting, and then a red and a blue for those that want extra challenge. So I explain this to everybody in my classes so that they get to pick what's best for them. And I tell them, hey, if you're in the middle of a set and you need a little bit more support or you want a little bit more spice, let me know. I'm here to change those settings for you.